The movie begins with a little girl named Georgia playing her favorite game with her faithful dog Ember. They both play a game where Georgia and Ember pretend to be firemen who are on a mission to save people stuck in burning towers. Although we're meant to know that Georgia got this fireman obsession from her dad, who is Captain Shawn Nolan. Just as Georgia and Ember arrived at the scene, they began their fireman process, as the water pressure from the hose pushed them to the top of the building. However, as soon as they got to the top, the water from their truck finishes making them drop from the sky, but they were fortunate to have landed on the city clock, as we see Georgia holding onto it and her dog. Just then, we were meant to know that all this was just an imagination, as we are taken back to reality when her dad caught Georgia from falling. At this moment, the scene freezes and Georgia narrates the story to we the viewers. We are meant to know that Captain Shawn was the most famous and bravest fireman in New York, as he has saved hundreds of lives and eventually earned the title a legend, but unfortunately he couldn't save his wife, as she died while giving birth to Georgia. Since then, Shawn had to bring up Georgia all by himself. With a tough profession as fireman, so Shawn resigned from the job of a fireman and started working as a tailor instead, like his dad. This is all because her father loves her so much, and now she believes it's her dream and destiny to become a firefighter. The scene shifts to Brooklyn 1920, where her father is very furious as she almost broke her neck from playing as a firefighter. Shawn forbids her from playing any more of her fireman games, but he can't stop Georgia from dreaming. However, the only way to stop her is by telling her the bitter truth, as they live in a conservative society where people believe that women are not strong enough for a job as tough as a fireman, and that is why they don't hire girls. Georgia told her dad, saying but she is brave, and in fact as brave as any boy, if not more than most male, but her father then told her that although this rule may change one day, but it's not happening anytime soon. So Georgia should give up on her dream. This breaks the heart of the little girl. She must accept the reality after that day. At night, Georgia cried out all her pain and sorrow. Meanwhile, the scene then cut to 10 years later. We see some firemen doing their job as usual, but just then are intoxicated and controlled. At Captain Shawn's household, we see Georgia, as she has now become a grown, beautiful woman. She also seems to have learned sewing as her father desired and helps in his tailoring work. Looks like Georgia already accepted the fact that she can't be a firefighter. At their workplace, Georgia and her father, Captain Shawn, prepare hundreds of pants in just a day and earn a decent amount of money that is enough to take care of them comfortably. They got a news about the lost firefighters, and immediately, Shawn switched off the radio and head outside with his daughter to have some ice cream. But just then, a firefighter bus then passed them by. But just then, Shawn then told her that he's happy that she wasn't even on the truck, as when she was small, she usually dreamed of being a firefighter. Georgia then replied him, saying that was very silly of her, as girls don't become a firefighter. At night, as Georgia faked sleeping, we then found out that Georgia is still as passionate about a firefighter, and she has always secretly trained during the night. She wants to prove everyone wrong by becoming the first firewoman and a legend just like her dad. But as they trained, some policemen came to their house with also the mayor of New York named Jimmy. He met Georgia's dad and they discussed. Georgia sneaked in to listen to what their discussion was. He told Captain Shawn that the previous firefighter they sent on a rescue mission seems never to be making it out alive, as they just vanished. Shawn is surprised by this, as it's hard to believe all the firefighter in New York just disappeared into thin air. The mayor tried convincing Shawn to investigate the whole fireman issues for just a few days, but it seems Shawn isn't interested, as he's just a tailor now. But as Shawn walked inside, the mayor then told him that the whole city isn't safe, not even his daughter. This then made Shawn change his mind, saying he will need a team, just a small team, which consists of a chemist and a driver plus all the information the city have on it. The next day, Shawn informed his daughter that he is traveling for an emergency tailoring meeting, which is just lying. Georgia pretended not to know anything and promised her dad to take care of herself and stay home. Immediately Shawn leaves, Georgia began her plan on how to disguise as a boy to join her father's team. She traveled to the city, and she is very amazed on how beautiful the city was. She bumped into a man whose breath stank worse than a pig, before asking him the location of the direction of the Times Square fireman house. But the man isn't having it and didn't help her with it. Georgia eventually finds the building, and she's very amazed by the whole equipment the firefighter have. Georgia sees her father in his dress, and she is very surprised. Shawn seems to not recognize Georgia. She introduces herself as Joe and claims to be a fireman who has been training for days. Georgia joins other team members, which includes a young chemist named Ricardo, who doesn't seem to have a professional degree in science, and also a driver named Jin who lies having illegal age for this job. They also don't have time to investigate Georgia's origin. However, this is the best team Jimmy, the mayor, can find right now, as no one is willing to risk his life. They immediately drove to the scene to investigate the situation. But as they did so, Georgia's mustache fell off, which she goes to get back. After a long ride, they got to the area and are very surprised about what they saw. Shawn asked Georgia to connect the water pipe, but she forgets to check the pressure, which made her fly here and there along with the water pipe. Shawn saves her and grabs the pipe. Afterwards, he uses the ladder to get at the top of the building. As they watered it, one of the firemen lost consciousness, falling toward the control, which lifted the ladder, making Shawn and Georgia enter inside the building. Shawn tells his daughter to stay close to them, but she sees something moving and follows it. It appears to be a figure hidden in the smoke who threatens Georgia and throws an orb at her. Shawn calls Georgia, and they somehow manage to get out of the building safely. Captain Shawn is very furious at his team because they don't listen. He went on telling them that firemen go in together, stay together, come out together. They promised not to disappoint Shawn again. But just then, Shawn tells Joe, his daughter, that he doesn't want to see her ever again in the fire force. Georgia goes to meet Shawn and tried convincing him, but he told her that her lying to be a fireman almost cost them their life, and he's a father who need to go back home at night. She begs for another chance. At first, he didn't agree, but later told her to come in with him. They got inside the building and found out that everything is burnt to a crisp, but at the same time still standing. Georgia touches it, but everything fell off. Georgia steps on the stage and finds a weird pattern in front of the building. It looks like the arsonist assumes himself as a performer who was presenting art on the stage. Georgia shows the orb she got from the arsonist, and Shawn believes it may help them in the case. Jimmy, who is the mayor, seems to be using this crisis to show off how great a mayor he is, so he can get re-elected. Meanwhile, Georgia starts to get suspicious, wondering if Jimmy is involved with the arsonist, but Shawn advises her not to jump to conclusion. Immediately, Georgia realized that her dad was heading home, so she also rushed to get home before him, so he won't notice she was gone. But unfortunately, Shawn gets home before her, and she then used her room window to get back in. At night, Georgia demands her father to tell her about what happened at the tailoring meeting. The next day, she tells her dad to take Ember to his outing, and she promised to stay home all day. But this was all a lie, as she heads straight to the firehouse. Captain Shawn also came in, and Georgia pretended not to know her dog Ember, which made her dog angry. They began investigating the whole situation while Shawn planned training Georgia. But she kept on failing, but eventually learned how to use a fire hose. Just then, Shawn then told her that she reminded him of his daughter. They all visit a performer practicing for a concert. Shawn and Georgia goes to meet her and her assistant for questioning, but she sent them out. Meanwhile, Georgia is out having a discussion with the assistant. She told the assistant her secret had not been a boy named Joe, but a girl and the daughter of Captain Shawn, as she did all this to become the first firewoman. Just then, the mayor comes in, and the assistant then told Georgia that the mayor do come to the stage more frequently. Joe goes to follow the mayor into a room. As she peeped through the door, she then saw him playing the same piano keys she heard when she was inside the burning building. Immediately, Shawn touched her and she panicked. Meanwhile, at the firehouse, they continue experimenting on the orb, and it seems the chemical react to the same music that the mayor was playing, which made it explode and also hypnotized Georgia's pet dog, her father, and even the whole crew, except the chemist and Georgia. Everything began to burn. Georgia is of the idea they move everybody, but the chemist is very scared, and Georgia motivated him, which works as he carried everyone out, while Georgia eventually find a way to stop the chemical. The next day, they ran toward the stage building to get back to real business. They fix hose which carried water, so whenever the alarm rings, they turn on the water, thereby stopping the chemical from spreading and hypnotizing people. Georgia notices Pauline nearby, who announces that she is going to New City to follow her dreams, and that she just came to pick up some belonging in from the theater. Georgia informed her to hurry up as the theater is about to close. Suddenly, the alarms start ringing. Seems the arsonist tricked them and lit the fire in other places instead of the auditorium. Georgia immediately informed her dad that Pauline is still inside, so they get in to save her. Georgia finds her, but the ground breaks and Pauline falls down. Georgia still wants to save her, but Shawn believes they should leave the building, otherwise they will die too. Georgia gets really stressed after this incident, because she wanted to be a fireman to save people. Shawn tells her that he also once failed to save a couple from a burning house and got devastated, but his captain told him that bad things happen sometimes which they can't help or control with their powers alone. Georgia understands to agree to continue their mission. Jimmy comes there and announces that he is giving this investigation solely to the police department, and he thanks Shawn for helping him. Shawn and Georgia followed him. They reach the celebrity restroom and Shawn tries to break in, but he accidentally falls on the injured Miss Divine, who is resting inside. They accidentally open a secret passage that leads them to an underground subway that seems to have been shut down years ago. They realize that the arsonist was a PhD in chemistry, but he wanted to become an artist, but got rejected several times, so he decided to create his own show with firebombs. With their finding and enjoy, Shawn told Georgia is proud of him. But then, Georgia reveals her identity to her father, but Shawn is very angry by this as he is afraid that the job is just too dangerous for her. Just as Georgia claims that the firefighting spirit is in her blood, Shawn reveals to her that he isn't her real father. He then went on telling her about the couple he couldn't save 15 years ago, revealing that when they both realized they couldn't survive the situation, they handled him their little baby, which was Georgia, and he sworn to them that he wouldn't put her in danger. Just then, the arsonist trapped and hypnotized her father. Georgia is very furious and sad by this. The arsonist then came closer toward Georgia, but it is then revealed that it was Pauline doing all along, as she's the arsonist. Pauline believes that Georgia is just like her, as the society don't want to give them a chance to accomplish their dreams, and they have to act now by destroying the whole city just to start again. Georgia rejects Pauline's offer and she get angry, making Georgia father suffer her decisions. Georgia rushes to save her dad and they both hug as he's now okay. She told her dad that she loves him before her dad then told her to go save their city. Georgia ride with the crew and they are surprised that she's as a girl along. Pauline seems to have began her plan as every vehicle seems to be in ashes. She released more chemicals. Shawn arrived at the scene and also planning getting at the top of the tower. The force of the chemical explosion pushes Georgia, but she is okay. Pauline sent more of the chemical to the city, while Shawn analyzed how to get to the top. Georgia eventually get to the top, while Pauline prepared to play her music to make her chemical react. Georgia only had 90 seconds to stop Pauline. She planned cutting off the cable that connects to Pauline's musical instruments, which she proceeded to do so, and was successful. Pauline is very furious by this, that she goes of kicking Georgia from the top of the building, but fortunately for her she grabbed the cable. Shawn crew arrived to join the party. Meanwhile, Pauline is busy trying to get her cable back, but it is stuck. Georgia warned her that she's too close to the edge of the building, but just then she slipped, making her fall, but Georgia catches her. Pauline tells Georgia that she's ruining everything and they both have the same fire in them, but just then, Georgia then told her that she uses hers to save people, while Pauline uses hers to destroy. Nearby, Shawn and his crew arrived, saving both Pauline and Georgia. The next day, Shawn gave Pauline a box containing everything he knew about her real parents. Just as she looked through the pictures, she realized she looked like her mom, but just then she also told Shawn that he was the best dad she could possibly ever have. The two both hugged each other. The mayor gave the fire crew gold medals for their hard work. The movie then came to an end. If you enjoyed a recap like this, kindly subscribe for more.